Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Sweden once again, and we've got a video that I'm very excited to do for you today. So for this one we're going to do my first dedicated review to Malmö Brewing Company, who you've heard me talk about before. These guys do some really pretty awesome beers, but you can usually only get them in the tap room in Malmö. But thanks to Stoffe and Anders being very cool, I do have a special sample that was given to me. So for this one we're going to have a taste of the canned wheat, and this is one of the most hyped beers that Malmö Brewing Company do. So it's a white IPA that comes in at 7% ABV. It's rated 93, I think it is, overall on Rate Beer, and 91 within the style. I did get a taste of this beer. They had just released a new batch of it for Brewskival a couple of weeks ago, or by the time you see this video it'll probably be 2 weeks ago actually, but I'm really glad that I was able to try this one. And once again, a huge thank you to Stoffe and Anders from Malmö Taproom and Malmö Brewing Company for making this possible. Really excited to try this one. And this, my one complaint about this company is that their beers they do are very good, but they just they don't produce them in bottles for Systembolaget and things like that. So that is the one thing that's a shame about this company. But if you do find yourself in Malmö, I highly recommend that you go and have a taste of some of their beers and a try some of their food as well. They really do some pretty damn awesome stuff. So looking forward to this one. Finally I can review for you the canned wheat from Malmö Brewing Company. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Malmö Brewing Company. This is the third review involving these guys, but the first dedicated one. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there, of course, for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's constantly being added to. And please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Malmö Brewing Company then. So this company was started back in 2002 when Anders Hansson and his parents bought the old Chedern building on Bergsgatan in Malmö, very close to Triangeln station actually. But Anders says that he'd always been really interested in this property because it was the last surviving brewery in Malmö, having housed the Rector Brewery until 1898. But Anders had been really interested in brewing from a very young age, and he'd been involved in the industry for a number of years before he went on to found Malmö Brewhus, and it was later renamed Malmö Brewing Company from what I understand. But a lot of work was put into renovating this property, and the family operated it initially as a conference centre and a nightclub, and they used this business essentially to make money to renovate the old brewery building and turn it into a proper brew pub. And this was the idea all along, and they've done a very good job of that, of course. And essentially, from what Anders told me, basically they have a very successful bar and restaurant, and that kind of funds them to experiment with their beers. That's what this company is all about, and you know, that really is what craft beer is all about as well. So in 2013 they opened up the beer garden at the Hamnestern, which is the harbour master's house near the Malmö Central train station, although they are going to sell that bar now from what I understand. And in 2015 they opened up the tap room finally in the brewery building in Bergsgatan as well. So as I say, it's a very good restaurant. I think they've got about 30, maybe 35 taps if I'm remembering correctly on there at any one time. Usually there's about 10, maybe 15 or so that are their own beers, and the other ones they do quite a number of Skånsk beers as well, and various other things that they get in. But it's a really nice place. Probably my favourite bar in Malmö actually. You will find me quite often in there, and they do some really good beers like this. And as I said, canned wheat is one of the most hyped ones that they've done. There was a lot of excitement about this, and apparently the head brewer, Thomas Fransson, if I'm remembering his name correctly, he's very anal about his brewing, so he produces some really nice stuff, and at the moment they've got a really nice beer as well, which is called Simcoe Lightning, and I would say that's one of the best ones that they've done too. But I did have a little taste of this beer because I went into the bar on the Thursday. Stoffe set me up with this bottle, and I've just brought it home to Scotland just now to try. So they probably will still have Simcoe Lightning, but this batch of canned wheat is very fresh, and it was done for the Brewskival in 2017, like I told you. But that's all you need to know about the brewery just now. Go in, they've always got different beers, they're always producing different things, but have a try of them, and they do have some really good stuff, like I say. So yeah, that's all you need to know about them just now. Let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So like I said to you, this one is a 7% white IPA. For what I understand, it has 2-row and wheat malts in it, and they do use Citra, but I'm not sure if that is the only hop that you get in this one. There's no artwork on this because this is simply just a a straight kind of sample bottle that I was given. So as I said, once again, thank you, a huge thank you to Stoffe and Anders for making this review possible. So yeah, this should be pretty awesome. So one thing we can talk about with this beer is how it compares from the fresh one that I tried to actually being in the bottle for a few days. I've had it in the bottle for about 4 or 5 days by the time I'm filming this one, if I remember correctly. But it should be really interesting. Straight off, when you open that up, you really can smell some of these nice kind of citra hop aromas. You can pick out a little bit of that mango and the kind of lychee sort of gooseberry thing that you get from it. But as you can see, this beer's poured a really nice kind of almost blood orange colour actually, maybe just a little bit lighter than blood orange, but definitely a nice orangey colour with a bit of a more kind of hazy yellow edge to it. But it looks pretty much exactly what you would expect from an IPA. So I think this one, I think the correct style for this is wheat IPA or white IPA, however you want to describe it. And from what I understand, it is 7% ABV. You can see there's a solid kind of half finger, quarter finger, maybe. No, it's a third finger, sorry, it's somewhere in the middle. It's a third finger of a frothy white head on this one. It's not even cream, it is perfect white. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But it looks really nice and pretty much exactly what you would expect from a white IPA or even a regular IPA. A nice sort of hazy looking beer, this one. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and see how we get on. Yeah, that still smells pretty damn good. Yeah, so with this one straight away, you can smell that nice white bready character. You can definitely get that sort of wheaty smoothness to it, but I'm also getting a little bit of a kind of biscuity and slightly caramelly note, which I didn't pick up at the time when I had it in the tap room. In fairness, before that I had I think 1 or 2 of the Simcoe Lightnings that I was talking about when I tried it, when Stoffe let me try it on the tap. But with this one I'm definitely getting just a little bit of an almost slightly biscuity, it's almost maybe even a little bit kind of butterscotchy sweetness that's coming out of this. But yeah, it's really nice, and you can definitely smell the citra hop in this one. I do wonder if there's maybe a little bit of a Simcoe note in there as well. There's some of the kind of telltale signs of Simcoe are just jumping out to me, maybe a wee tiny bit of passion fruit or something, but there's definitely citra. The citra note I think is the dominant one in this. So yeah, you can pick up a little bit of a mango note. There's definitely some sort of grassy and floral character coming out of it. And you can smell as you go further, as you get more, as your nose adjusts kind of more and more to the aroma of this one, you start to pick up a little bit of that kind of lychee sort of gooseberry note that you can get from citra. And there's maybe even a wee bit of a kind of lemongrassy, almost lemon-limey character in there as well. But I tell you something, it certainly, for being 4 or 5 days old in the bottle, it certainly has held up its aroma really quite well. So it just kind of goes to show you what these little pop top bottles can do, because it simply Stoffe simply poured it out the tap and put it straight in the bottle for me, and then my dad took it home with him when we flew over here. So yeah, it's amazing how that can kind of hold up straight off the tap. I think it's a week usually you should keep beers like that in the growlers and things. But it certainly has held up its aroma very, very well. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. So this is the canned wheat from Malmö Brewing Company in Malmö and Skåne in the very south of Sweden. Once again, a huge thank you to Stoffe and Anders for making this review possible. Skål! Yeah, that is pretty damn good, I have to say. You know, when it was fresh, when it was straight out the tap, I don't remember it being quite as smooth in the malt base as it is now. It did have just a little bit more bitterness to it, and you know, you do expect that. The hops, as soon as you get a little bit of oxygen in the beer, the hops will kind of start to drop a little bit, but it does have a good little bit of hoppy bitterness to it. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the IBUs in this one were supposed to be. I never actually asked Stoffe that, but I would guess it's somewhere around maybe the 60, maybe 70 mark at most. Somewhere around there, and it still does have a little bit of that. It's more, to me, it's just coming across as a little bit smoother than it did straight out the tap right enough. But the Malmö Brewing beers, when you have them on the tap, they always are smooth, but this one is just a little bit smoother than I remember it. And in fairness, that might have been due to the fact, as I said, that I had a couple of beers before it, but it's really, really good, this one. it's definitely interesting to try it with a fresh palate as well. So yeah, in the middle of your palate with this, you're getting kind of exactly what you'd expect. There's a nice white bready character that just blankets the middle of the tongue. On top of that, there's a nice sort of wheaty smoothness. You can definitely pick up that wheaty smoothness in there, but right in the middle of the palate, I'm getting just a little bit of a kind of caramelly and probably biscuity or butterscotchy character as well. You can really just feel a little bit of that in the middle of the palate, and it sort of comes forward right to the very front of the tongue there. And that's really interesting because the white IPAs can always just be straight up sort of bready character, but this one does have a little bit of complexity, and that'll be the 2-row malt coming out. Usually the 2-row malt, in my experience, can give you, some of them, I think there's a few different types of it, one of them can give you quite a strong caramel as well as the bready character, but the other one kind of gives you a slightly more biscuity and butterscotchy note, and that's what I'm getting from this one, a sort of biscuity butterscotch kind of thing. And as the flavour progresses too, you do get just a little bit of a grainy character there as well, but really the malt base in this one is very, very smooth, which is what you would expect from a white IPA like this one. Yeah, in terms of the hoppiness then, with this one, it's definitely Citra. I'm pretty sure it's Citra that's coming out of this. In the back corner of the palate, you've got this nice, there's a very just little touch of earthiness there, but then as you come further forward, it sort of smooths out and you've got this nice kind of floral aromatic character. It's a little bit spicy actually, there's a wee bit of spicy character on the sides of your tongue, but as you come forward, you do get a big dose of that floral aromatic bitterness there on the very front corners of your palate, but as you go round the front curve of your tongue, it smooths out a little bit and you've got a little bit of a nice lighter grassy character. It's not really lemongrass as I was picking up in the aroma, it is more of a kind of aromatic type thing that's going on in this one. And just behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you'll get the little oily bubble where these nice kind of juicy fruity esters are coming out. And I'm actually picking up, you've seen how long it is since I've taken a sip of this beer, I'm actually getting a little bit of grapefruit there. And on top of that, there's some of these nice mango notes that you'd expect from the Citra hop. And as you progress further and further into the aftertaste, you start to get a little bit more of these complex things. It's mainly lychee and just a little bit of gooseberry that's coming out for me at the moment. But the grapefruit in this one, so it just depends on the beer style usually. You can get a little bit of grapefruit from the Citra hop, and I'm picking up that quite a bit in this one. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a grapefruit just kind of underpinning that, but on top of that you start to get a little bit of these kind of lighter juicy mangoes, and as I say, as the flavour goes on and on, you start to get the more kind of complex fruit flavours that you would expect of the Citra hop. That's one of the great things, that the Citra and the Mosaic hop have these really lovely kind of tropical fruit complexities that come out more and more in the aftertaste. And that's the thing when it comes to ales, you do get a lot of the flavours coming out in the aftertaste, so you do have to bear with them. The flavour's not all in the beginning as it can be with like lagers and pilsners and things like this. But this is held up really, really nicely. So if you get the chance to try this canned wheat beer when you're in Malmö taproom, I highly recommend that you do. They don't brew it very often. From what Stoffa told me, it's actually quite a difficult one for them to brew because the fermentation can be really quite tricky. So you will only see this every so often, and they made a special effort to actually get it out for Brewskival. So when you have the chance to get this, make sure you try it. In terms of the mouthfeel then for this one, mid-bodied, it's definitely a mid-bodied beer. Do bear in mind, as I said to you, this one came straight out the tap right enough, so it would be a bit different if it was bottle conditioned and stuff like that. The carbonation is really quite smooth on this one. It has a little bit of oily character to the mouthfeel, but mainly it's a kind of nice smooth and wet character to it. There's a nice bit of sweetness from the malt base, but overall it's quite smooth. A good little bit of hoppy bitterness. I'm guessing it's around the kind of 60-65 IBU mark. That is just a complete guess. It might be more than that, or even less than that, but you've got a nice kind of juicy, fruity character behind the front curve of the tongue too. It's nicely balanced between the bitterness and the sweetness of the malt there. Initially you get the sweetness, but as you progress further and further you get more of that floral, aromatic character coming out of it with some of these nice juicy fruits as well. But overall it's a really good beer, and I can see why it is quite a hyped one. So as I say, when you have the chance to try this from Malmö Brewing Company, go into the tap room, and just have a go at it. You can't take these beers away, of course. You can only get 3.5% growlers and things. I was quite lucky to be able to get a sample of this, and they very kindly agreed to let me do that for the channel. So once again, a huge thank you to Stoffe and Anders for making this beer review possible. It's been really cool to review this one for you. The canned wheat from Malmö Brewing Co, a really nice white IPA, and while it's around, kind of just buy this beer. It really is quite good. So I'm very glad that I got to try this one, and thank you for watching my beer reviews. So until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media, of course, and check out my other reviews that I've done from Malmö Brewing Company before. But thank you for all your support, and do make sure you get along to Taproom in Malmö to try some of their own beers. As I say, Simcoe Lightning is another one that I highly recommend that you try. For me, that's one of the best ones that they've done in a while. So until the next time, it's Slange just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The canned wheat from Malmö Brewing Company in Bergsgatan in Malmö in Skåne in southern Sweden. Slange just now. Skål.